Hello, I'm IceDude, and this is Kerbal Space Program. Today, well, yesterday or the day before, depending on when I upload this, I posted an incredibly long video where I flew a rocket to the moon, and then flew two more rockets to the moon, and then brought everyone who went up on those rockets back to Kerbin. And today I'm going to try something different. I'm planning to send up 3 Kerbals in this ship, and then have one go off to Moon, one go off to Minmus, and then one return to Kerbin. And if you watch that video I uploaded, you'll probably be able to tell from this brief view that this ship is pretty heavily based off the one well, in fact, it is just a modified version of the ship I used. But I didn't, well, without commentary on that video, it's kind of hard to explain how the ship works. Hopefully I'll explain it a bit better in flight, when we're in flight, but basically we've got one massive stage here at the bottom that breaks up into little pieces to make flying more efficient. Basically, rather than having one rocket at the bottom and then dropping that and then activating the next, we fire all the rockets at once and then drop the outer sections of the rocket as those outer sections run out of fuel. The outer sections feed the fuel inwards, and therefore even the middle rocket is using the outer fuel tanks first. So the outer 4 rockets will run out of fuel, we'll drop those. The middle 4 rockets will run out of fuel, drop those, and then the centre rocket will hopefully finish getting us into orbit. And hopefully it won't shake itself to death, which is a bit of a problem with a rocket as big and complex and heavy as this one. And just a quick look at the top stage here. We've got a small orbiter section with 2 weird-ish landers on either side. These landers have a part called the, I can't remember if it was a passenger tank or a crew tank, but I'll upload a video, that's what I'm doing now. I'll post a link right here on the part to where you can download this crew tank from. And also here on top of each of them is a mechjeb, because I'm terrible at the game, and mechjeb will be doing most of the flying for me. Okay, so may as well take this to the launch pad. Yes, the failed first attempt. Clear the pad and proceed. And that was just an attempt to see if it would shake itself to pieces on the launch pad. It did. And while the world loads in, and we're good. Okay, the ship did not shake itself to pieces that time, which is always a good sign. Okay, so basically I've got my mechjeb ascent autopilot all set up already. And Scott Manley, who this guy who does some fantastic Kerbal Space Program videos, did a video covering how to set up mechjeb for a moon mission. I'll put a link for his video of that here. It uses the previous version of Kerbal Space Program, but all the settings and stuff still apply. And yeah, that video will show you how to use mechjeb, and because I'm terrible at explaining that sort of thing, but I'll try and cover our mission plan here. Basically, we get our we have our curve set up here. The gravity turn starts at 20 kilometers because we'll be dropping our outer sections before then, and dropping those outer sections in the middle of a gravity turn does not end well. You'd be surprised at how many failed attempts I had at getting the first ship of this design up to orbit with Jeb in it. But yes, enough of that. We should probably be getting on with this. So engage the autopilot, and 3, 2, whoops. Yeah, nobody's buying that. That was intentional. Ooh, that's a little bit wobbly, but she seems to be holding together. That spider web-like array of supports here is hopefully going to keep us from shaking ourselves to bits in orbit. Funnily enough, only one of the mechjebs is opened, if you can see on this video. If you're in HD, you probably didn't see it, but the one on the right's open and the one on the left hasn't. Weird. I thought they would have both opened, but obviously not. Oh, how are we doing for fuel, actually? Ah, we've already used up the 2 outer tanks on each outer, the 2 top tanks on each outer rocket, and that spin is a bit worrying, because that normally doesn't happen. Okay, yeah, we're going to be dropping those. Oh, that's a bit wobbly there. Good thing we're getting rid of it soon. And there goes the outer stages. Yeah, this design is... Oh yeah, I've already explained how this is more efficient than a standard big, tall rocket. And of course, we lost that extra thrust, but we also lost all the weight as well. And okay, while we're on our way up, let's take a look at the map, see what's going on. We are here on our way up, and over here is where Bill, Bob and Jeb are currently sitting, but that's where they splashed down on the way back from the moon in that rescue mission I showed in the previous video. Oh, and now it appears we've started our gravity turn. And the ship is holding together, which is always a relief. Let's see, what else? Over here we have 3 ships called Leo. Basically, with those I'm trying to figure out how to rendezvous ships in orbit. One of them has one of these crew tanks on it, and the other 2 are one-man ships. Basically, I'm going to try do an orbital rescue of the Leo ships, bring them all back down to Kerbin. Unfortunately, my flight skills, that will probably not happen anytime soon, so don't expect a video from that. Probably going to need to send an actual rescue mission for those guys. But yes. Oh, that's... Why is this version so much more wobbly? Because the support struts at the bottom have got rid of that, that's why. Okay, let's just finish our burn before we get rid of those, because deploying those while we're burning never ends well. That's killed too many missions for me to risk it. Take a look at our orbit, and we're going straight enough, let's risk it. Ah, that was close. And those will fall back down to Kerbin and not clutter up the orbit, which is always a relief. And the ship, it seems to be holding steady. I'm going to drop that bottom tank once we get that bottom stage, once we finish our gravity turn and start coasting towards our apoapsis, because it's still looking a lot too unsteady for my liking. Come on, get us there. Only 10 more kilometers to go. And why are we burning down towards the planet? This can't... We've passed the end of our turn, so why are we still burning? Oh, there we go. And drop the bottom stage. bottom stage, please. There we go. And there we go, we've got that active, and now we can turn on warp to apoapsis. And of course that bottom stage will eventually fall back to Kerbin as well. And this upper stage is much more manoeuvrable without it, because this thing turns like a tank when that's attached. No, it turns like a barge even. It turns like a tank means it'd be able to turn... No, I'm rambling again. Sorry if I keep doing that. But yes. Now it's... Oh god, it's going to burn straight into that, isn't it? Oh, we appear to be clear though, so that's a relief. But yes, we've successfully reached orbit with this ship. And once we've reached orbit altitude, and now we're going for our actual orbit. As you can see, we're raising our periapsis, which will bring us out to 300 kilometers. And there we go, a circular orbit at 300 kilometers above Kerbin. We can close this descent to autopilot now. There's some information. Not that nice. But yes, okay. Now let's turn on SAS. Try and stop this spin. There we go. And now let's see if we can load our brave adventurers into their separate spaceships. And I completely forgot to get this guy's name, but detach him from there, activate his jetpack. And one thing I love about the new EVA system is just how big it shows off the rockets to be. I mean, even a one-man, 1 meter rocket looks absolutely huge once you get out and are flying around it. But yeah, this thing's huge. And there goes some of our debris back down to the planet, off in the distance there. I can grab the ladder. There we go. And into the lander. And let's see, SID-B is in one of the landers, and yes, let's get Milza into the other one. Some of these names are so stupid, but so endearing. Not entertaining, yet endearing. And board that ship. Milza is in here. SID-B is in here. And Shelson is, if we can get to the hatch, in here. Okay, now the trick is hoping that each of these will count as their own spaceship once I detach, rather than something weird going on and it deciding they're all different stages of the same ship still. I have no idea how this is going to go because I haven't done it before, but get aligned and then we'll give it a try. Activate SAS again, try and kill some of that rotation. And 3, 2, 1. We have detachment. I probably should have put some RCS on this thing in retrospect, but in any case, let's turn us away from these, get a bit of burn to get clear. And we're clear of the landers. Time to turn Shelton? Yes, Shelton. Get him on a retrograde trajectory. Point of the. My mouth sometimes goes weird like that. Yeah, get him pointed retrograde and start a burn to drop him back to Kerbin. Actually, first. There we go. They're both listed as debris. Interesting. Okay. Let's get Shelton dropped back to Kerbin. Bring up the controls. Drop a periapsis down to. We can afford to drop him, but drop a periapsis to below the surface. We've got far more fuel than we'll ever need. That's a good thing about that design, that rocket design. It's so horribly over-engineered. You're pretty much never gonna run out of fuel with it. Okay, time to get us turned around again. And we can drop the orbital stage. And Shelton is free to re-enter at his own leisure. Are we still close enough? Yes, but no, we're not close enough. We need to go through the map screen. But yes, Shelton, his mission is complete. He will return to Kerbin. And the debris ships, switch to those by double-clicking. That's an unforeseen thing. Basically, it's made them into their own ships, but it's crammed everything onto a single stage. Not too much of a problem, as there was only the one stage anyway, but it also activates that stage, which makes things a bit awkward if we were to send up a multi-stage rocket in this way. Can we actually steer though? Ooh, oh dear. I get the feeling we can't control anything. Oh, no, we can. We can at least deploy the landing legs. Maybe if we. Hatch is obstructed, can't exit. Oh dear. We can activate the engine at least. Maybe we can. Yeah, there we go. Thrust vectoring on the engine lets us get some turning going on. Oh dear. So okay, smartass. Get us pointed prograde, please. What is our orbit doing at the moment? Yeah, we've got plenty of time to work. No, we're just spinning. Maybe if I turn off mechjeb. There we go. There we go. Okay, this thing steers even worse than the large stage, which is frankly surprising. Maybe it's because there's no pod? Yes, at least we're pointed in vaguely the right direction. Now let's get orbital operations open, transfer to the moon. And of course I'm nowhere in the right position, and it's going to not get me pointed in the right direction. Close enough, I guess. And then we just have to hope that mechjeb can keep this thing under control. We burnt quite a bit of fuel there though. Hopefully that's the fuel from the crew module, because that also acts as a very small fuel tank, and not from here, because otherwise we are really not going to have. Shouldn't you be burning now when it says executing main injection burn? Abort. Engine on. Transfer to the moon, please. Oh, we're going to have to do this manually, aren't we? Oh. I know what it's doing. Mechjeb thinks it's still part of the main rocket. Okay, so piloting this thing with mechjeb is not going to work at all. Sorry mechjeb, you are a complete and utter liability in this mission. Which is a surprise, because normally I'm incredibly reliant on mechjeb. So we're going to have to fly this entire mission manually. Oh. This poor little guy's going to die in a crash on the moon, isn't he? But anyway, we just need to try and keep this level. You probably can't tell, but I'm really having to babysit these controls, trying to keep us pointed in the right direction. And it doesn't help that we're barely getting any acceleration out of this tiny engine either. I get the feeling we're not going to have enough fuel to do a landing on the moon, but can't hurt to try. At least our apoapsis is starting to change at a reasonable rate. Seriously, I wonder why this is so unstable. Maybe the radial decoupler is still worked into it somehow? I'm not sure. Pardon me. But yes, here we go. And we are on a intercept with moon. And our ship is tumbling uncontrollably. Oh well, time for one of the few things mechjeb can do in this mission. Warp us to the change of sphere of influence. And of course the ship stops tumbling the moment I press that. What the heck? And it looks like the moon is just going to play an old catch-up with us, rather than any sort of orbit around it, which I guess is useful in its own way. Oh, lordy lord, trying to land this thing manually when it... Trying to land this thing manually is going to be a major pain, considering how it doesn't turn at all unless you have the engine on fairly high, and when you have the engine on fairly high it decides it doesn't want to point anywhere near the direction you're actually trying to aim it. Oh! Oh, we are in trouble here, we are in trouble. Oh, Sidby, I'm afraid you're dead, mate. Yeah. Saw that happening a mile off. Oh dear. Okay. Right, so I think we know how that's going to end up if we try it. Did I end flight on that other one? Oh, I see. Ending flight for the debris, ended flight for the actual ship. We're learning all sorts of new things here today. Well, at least one of our Kerbals made it back to Kerbin safe. And this other guy is obviously going to have to try as well. Hopefully mechjeb won't screw him up as much. Yeah, mechjeb is actually not controlling this in the slightest. Which would explain why it wasn't having much effect. Normally it locks your mechjeb locks your controls out, and I was steering manually with it on there. So we may as well just get our second lander back down to Kerbin and call it a day. Periapsis is now inside Kerbin, so we are set to land. Oh dear. Parachute on the lower stage, that means it's not going to deploy, isn't it? That means we've lost 2 Kerbals in this horrible mission. Oh well. Milza, your sacrifice has not been in vain. We have learnt so much. And that's one of the things I don't like about 0.16 version of Kerbal Space Program. We don't have the 2 times warp anymore, so re-entry is going to be a very slow process, because we have to do it in real time. Hopefully the ship can hold together long enough. Well, hopefully it can hold together entirely, because I've heard some people saying that having a mechjeb between the large parachute and anything else causes it to go on its own merry little way once it deploys, which would not be a very good thing for our friend Milza here. That is, if the parachute even deploys at all. Oh, there's a space center again. Hello. And I have drunk all my tea. This mission just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it? Oh, we can still extend the ladder at least. That's something. And the ship seems to be orienting itself properly as well. Might as well drop the landing gear. Get some use out of them other than testing. But yes, I'm fairly certain that the parachute would have deployed by now, if it was going to deploy. Oh dear. There really needs to be an option like with the ladders and the landing gear to manually Oh! That's a pleasant surprise. The parachute has actually deployed. Looks like Mills is coming back alive. Well, that's definitely a surprise. But yes, unfortunately this re-entry is going to take a while. And I still do not have the video editing software to fast forward through this. I'm probably going to have to buy something like Sony Vegas, was it? Yeah, Sony Vegas or something along those lines when I get back from holiday. But for now we're just going to have to endure this long re-entry. Oh. I hope they never add in the parachute snapping off if you open them too high up, otherwise all my Kerbals are going to die horribly. Who am I kidding? They're all going to burn up on re-entry the moment they add in re-entry heat. Because I have no idea what's supposed to be a good re-entry trajectory or not. But yes, we're coming back in for our landing now. Ugh. And we're approaching that worrying moment at 500 meters where the parachute actually deploys properly. And we'll learn if it's actually going to rip off the... Yep, there goes mechjeb. Okay. I should have seen that one coming a mile off. But yes, Military Kerman was killed. So, what have we learned from this mission? Let's see. You can't really have a proper cluster rocket yet. I'm not sure if that's due to programming and it's going to be fixed, or if that's just going to have to stay like that, but cluster rockets do not work properly, especially with mechjeb. Need to reinforce my rockets definitely, because otherwise we end up ripping off mechjeb and sending our poor Kerbonauts plunging to their death. And I really need to learn to land manually, because that was not a nice way for that other Kerb. I can't even remember his name, that's terrible. But yes, that's been one horrible failure of a mission. I'm IceDude, and this has been Kerbal Spacecraft.